Hello and welcome to the Inspired Life Summit. This is the place to be to discover how to be, feel, and live an inspired life. I'm Krysti Turznik, motivational speaker, best-selling author, and life coach, helping people to connect more deeply with who they truly are so they can create a life that speaks to their soul with meaning and value. The Inspired Life Summit is designed to take your life to the next level as leading experts share their best secrets on how to live an inspired life. Today, Rochelle Melander is with me. Rochelle is an author, a certified professional coach, and she has published 10 books, including Write-a-thon, Write Your Book in 26 Days and Live to Tell About It. I love that title. And as the Right Now coach, Rochelle speaks widely on the power of writing to improve health and well-being and transform lives. Welcome, Rochelle.
Hi, great to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. I'm excited for our topic today, which is going to be how journaling can transform your lives. So, Rochelle, how do you feel that journaling can really help people to feel inspired?
Well, I think that above all, journaling helps people connect with their kind of inner wise self. So often we're plagued with the inner critic. So the inner critic runs 24/7 and tells us everything that we're doing wrong and all the things that, we've messed up, and it just criticizes everything that we do. And when we journal, we're able to kind of dump those messages, challenge them, and really say, oh, this is garbage. I don't need to listen to this. And then we can start to access our strengths, the things we do well. And as we do that, we're really connecting to that inner wisdom. And with that inner wisdom, then we can choose to live in a more inspired way. So we can start feeling grateful, doing the things that make us happy and energized, and start living out of our purpose and meaning.
Oh, I love that. So good. So do you have any thoughts on someone who looks at that blank page and they start to feel very fearful? It just brings up a lot of uncomfortable anxiety type feelings. What can you say to them?
Well, I think, many of us have that anxiety around the blank page because of school. And so that inner critic is really alive and well and telling us all those negative things. So we're hearing what our English teacher told us or what our parents told us, spell right, complete sentences, so forth. So I tell people to just forget all of that, forget about complete sentences, forget about spelling, forget about making it perfect. So let go of that and then open yourself to new ways of journaling. So think about making lists or doing mind maps or writing questions or reflecting on a quote. Don't think about being neat or spelling correctly or using grammar. Just get it out there. The second thing I recommend people do is think about, starting from a prompt or doing a mind map or doing some sort of pre-writing that helps you kind of feel like the page isn't really blank. So if you put a quote there the night before, then when you journal, you have something to work with. You're not staring at a blank page. You've got stuff in front of you.
Oh, I love that. That's a really good tip for someone to use to really get started. Do you have other things like that on what people can do to help prompt them? You talked a little bit about like the mind map and things like that.
Yeah, so I offer some kind of just basic exercises that I think are really helpful. And the first is to do daily pages. So this has often been called morning pages, but I like to call it daily pages because you can do it at any time. And that's just 3 pages of just dumping whatever. It can be your to-do list, your hopes for the future, your dreams, anything like that. The second thing that I think is really helpful is gratitude journaling. So that's just writing 2 to 3 things that you're grateful for every day. And that can be an easy thing to do. Another thing I like people to do is just recall some of the things that went well throughout the day. So often we're tied to what went bad. We spend time calling our friends and saying, oh my gosh, you can't believe how horrible my day was. And then we talk about how bad we did or whatever. But if we can spend some time kind of writing about, oh, I had this great success, and it might be just, oh, I got dinner on the table and everything was hot at the same time, and my children ate and didn't complain. So if we can write about what went well and then just write a little bit about our strengths and what led to that, those are things that are easy to do, and that we can just rely on as kind of our stable of journaling exercises.
Oh, that's really great. So what would someone do? What would you suggest if they had a really difficult day? And they're in that mental state where everything just feels like it's going wrong. How would you encourage them to write about those feelings, or what would you recommend?
So I think that's when kind of daily pages work. So to kind of just dump it into that journal. And some of my clients actually use their daily pages. They dump it and then they rip it up and throw it away or burn it. Another thing they can do, and I might have mentioned this earlier, is that they can write about the difficulty and then try to challenge it. Like, what did I learn from this? Or make meaning out of it. So not just what did I learn for this, but how can it really impact my life? What were the strengths that I used in this difficult day? What were the things that I would do differently next time? Or how could I take meaning from this?
Mm-hmm. That's fabulous. So if someone is looking at that page where they're going to be starting to write, and they start writing, do you encourage them to do like a type of free flow where they're just writing down what they think, or do you like them to keep on a particular topic?
Oh, I think do what works for you. I think a lot of times journaling doesn't work because we get stuck on what we think we're supposed to do, instead of doing what works for us. So I'd say first try the daily pages. If that doesn't work, try one of the tools like gratitude pages or strengths journaling. If that doesn't work, then maybe get a book of prompts or look online for some prompts. I think that it's really important to kind of do what energizes, engages you. So really pay attention when you're engaged with journaling about what you're doing, and do more of that. And it's also great, I do classes, a lot of people do classes. Come to a class and get a little more encouragement and inspiration. Talk to your friends who journal and see what they do. All of those things can help you figure out what's going to work.
Yeah. And so talking about your classes, like what types of exercises or things do you talk about in classes like that?
So my favorite exercise that I do with clients is called the Best Possible Future Self. And this is based on studies from positive psychology. And so what I encourage people to do is write about their future best possible life. So it's a year from now or 5 years from now, everything has gone as well as possible. You've achieved your goals. What does your life look like? And you write in the present tense. You use a lot of sensory detail, and you write for about 20 minutes. So you write about that life. In the present tense, you talk about not just what you're doing professionally. We kind of get stuck into that, but it's also, who are you spending time with? What are you eating? How are you exercising? Where are you traveling on vacation? Where do you live? What does a typical day look like? So they write that, and they don't do it just once. They do it 4 times. And I typically recommend that they do it in 4 different places. So not just in your house, but also maybe go to a coffee shop or the library, or if it's a beautiful day, you can go to the park. If it's a beautiful day and it's sunny, and warm, then you can go to the park. And then after you're done with that, so while you're doing it, you pay attention to when do you feel energized? When do you feel inspired? And then afterwards, you kind of look at that and look for your commonalities, and that can be a map for your future. I've had people do it, and by the 3rd or 4th time, they're a little bored, so they write an acceptance speech for an award or an article about themselves, or the introduction for a big speech that someone is going to give about them. And it has been really effective in helping people not only choose their path for the future, but incorporate some of these ideas from their vision. So maybe they think, wow, I really want to be connecting with more artists. So they start going to art events, or I really want to be living in a warm place. So they start going, to somewhere that feels warm and cozy. So that's my favorite exercise to offer people.
Yeah, that sounds fabulous. So you had said that you encourage them to do it 4 different times. What is the
Yes.
psychology behind that? Like, why are you doing it 4 times?
So the first time we do something like this, we tend to stick pretty close to our daily life. So we don't get much that's unusual or that pops because we're staying safe. The second, third, and fourth time, we really begin to experiment and expand and get free flowing and let go of that. Oh, this is how I'm supposed to live my life. And that's where people come up with some really wild and fun things that might be closer to their true reason for being.
Oh, I love that. So it's almost like you're giving yourself permission to write down that daydream or that idea that you will have that's within yourself.
Yes.
I love that. So what can someone do if they like the idea of journaling or writing these things down feels like a chore or another thing that they have to do?
Yeah. So that's a great question. I think, the first thing is to make it a special thing. So find a journal you really love. Find a pen that really speaks to you. And I know that sounds weird, but there are amazing pens out there that make journaling feel really fun. So you get your journal and your pens, and then you do something to make it special. You find a cozy place in your house. You find a candle. You make it like a really extraordinary event, like taking a bath would be. The second thing I think people can do is tie it to something they're already doing. So if you're already having a morning cup of coffee or an afternoon cup of tea, or in the evening you have a cup of tea and just kind of relax and read, that can be a time to add journaling because you're already taking that time to do something for yourself. So you can add journaling, and it's not that big of a deal. The third thing I think is to really make it short. Start with 5 minutes. It's like meditation. Nobody starts meditating for an hour. And if they do, they're like, oh, this is horrible. I'm never doing it again. So don't expect that you're going to maybe do your whole 3 daily pages. Maybe you're just going to start with a daily paragraph. And so do that 5 minutes. The final thing I think that's really helpful is to kind of make a set when and where. So if you know that 3 days a week at 3:00 in the afternoon, you're going to have time to journal, then it can kind of become a habit. And I know people have different times, that it takes to become a habit. Some people say 21 days, other people say 29 days. I think it's a few months, I think it's more like 2 months that it takes to become a habit. So start small. Start with 1 day a week or 2 days a week and just see how it goes. And then expand if it feels good, and then maybe just tone it back if it feels scary.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, and that's a really good technique of really incorporating the journaling into your routine that you have, or making it a ritual so you really start to look forward to it. So that's a beautiful tip. Now, I have heard that sometimes journaling and journals can turn into a book. How would someone know if they could create a book from what it is that they've written?
Yeah, let me start with my story because I think sometimes hearing how other people have done it is helpful. So I went through a period where I had a lot of anxiety, and so I wrote probably 20 journals full of what was going on and how I was helping myself. And at some point I realized that the stuff I was writing might actually help other people, that hearing my story might be instructive to other people. So I put that in a book. And at the same time, I'm a writer. I've been writing all my life. So I was also writing books that were helpful to other people, helping them take care of themselves and talk to each other and so forth. So all of the things I was learning in my journal and my journal practice were things that I wanted to share with other people. And that's typically the journey that most people go through. They write for a couple of years, and then they start to meet other people who need their help, or they hear stories similar to theirs. And they begin to believe that their story can be instructive or inspiring to other people. And so they start to write it, or they might realize that it's not their story, or not just their story, but maybe the process they've gone to find healing. And so they put their story together as kind of a self-help book, or some sort of a how-to book to help people move towards healing. And it doesn't have to be kind of that illness healing way of thinking. It could also be that, wow, they started a garden and that really inspired them. And so now they're going to teach other people how to start a garden, or they learned how to cook for their family and get their kids to eat their vegetables. And so now they're going to write a book on how to do that. So it might be something really kind of tangible and fun that they found from their journaling practice that they decide they want to share with people. And at that point, they really need to go to a class, get a coach, read some books, and figure out how they can transfer this very personal writing into something that can help other people, because they need to turn it from kind of an introspective experience into something that extends out.
Oh, I love that. So it can be a very therapeutic process, the journaling.
Journaling is, there's tons of studies that tell us that journaling improves sleep, helps healing after surgery, improves our sense of well-being, helps us feel well, and, helps us feel inspired. And so I think that journaling can be healing in that way. And then when we write for other people, that can help to be healing, not just for us, but for other people.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And, there is such great wisdom in taking what you have learned and sharing that with others. So bringing your own journals into a book, that's a beautiful way to do that. So how has writing shaped your own life? You touched a little bit about that, but what has been the deep impact for you?
I think, I've been writing since I was a little kid. And whenever I experience difficulty, writing gives me a way to kind of take it out of my head and sort through it on the page. And that's super helpful. And then in addition to that, it's the taking it off the page of my own journals and being able to support other people. The other thing that I think is really helpful are things that I've mentioned earlier, that writing not only gets it out of my head and gets rid of that inner critic, but it helps me challenge the inner critic and access my strengths, access what inspires me, and help me do more of that. So I'm not just kind of wallowing in what's difficult, but moving forward into what's better and healthy and increases well-being. I really believe that journaling is life transforming. And so I love to encourage my clients to journal for that transformation.
Oh, I love that. Now, I have heard people say that when they're writing, it's almost as though a different voice somewhat comes out, or like they don't understand like how the words that came out came from them. Can you speak a little bit about that?
I believe that our journaling, especially when we're journaling by hand, and there's, you can journal on a computer, you can journal on your phone. I think journaling by hand really accesses that inner wisdom. And so when we journal, we kind of move into that, I don't want to say trance, but we move into that inspired state where we just are able to access all the wise things that have been stuck and buried under the negativity in our lives. And so sometimes all of that does come out, and it does feel like we're channeling, spiritual beings, when in fact it's really our inner wisdom. It's our inner essential self, the part of us that's true and good and inspirational.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. And all of that wisdom innately comes from us, right? I believe that we have all of the answers, and it's just allowing us to tap into all of those things. Yeah, absolutely. So talk a little bit, please, about your books. Like, what inspired you to write each of your books? So
I've been writing books for probably 20 years now, which is amazing. And so my first books were really about spirituality and how people can take care of themselves, because I was living in a work situation where I was being encouraged by my colleagues and my supervisors to work 60, 70 hours a week and to, give up self-care to take care of other people. And I really wanted to give other leaders an opportunity to learn how to take care of themselves. So that was my first inspiration. And that was a lot of my beginning books. I wrote a lot about spirituality and how to access spirituality through connecting with children and elderly people and nature. All of those things are really helpful. my most recent books are about helping people write books and accessing their own inner wisdom. And I know I use that term a lot, but I really believe that sometimes we rely so much on experts in the way experts say, this is how you're supposed to do it. So write in the morning, write first thing, write on a computer, write using this program, do it this way, exercise that way. And I believe that we need to do things in the way that works best for us. So the studies are the studies, and they give us some information, but we have so much wisdom and practice and experience that we can use to inform how we write, where we write, and how we live our life. So I really have been working on books that help people access that and live according to their own inner compass.
Oh, I love that. Do you have a favorite book that you would recommend that has really inspired you?
Yes. I read the book, If You Want to Write by Brenda Euland several years ago, and I go back to it all the time just because it's so inspirational. And one of the things she says that I love is she says, don't listen to the critics. Only listen to the people that applaud you. And write for the people that applaud you, write for yourself, and thumb your nose at the critics. And I think that's really helpful advice for those of us who are writing.
Yeah, I love that. So speaking of advice, do you have one last piece of advice that you would love to share with everyone?
Yes, and it sounds a little trite, but I think it's just absolutely true. You just have to dig in and do it. Just grab that journal and write, and don't listen to the critics. Just listen to your inner wisdom and feel inspired and do it. And sometimes I think if we sit through the discomfort while we're doing it, it just goes away. It usually only lasts about 90 seconds. So sit through the discomfort, keep writing, and you will be blessed beyond measure.
Oh, I love that. Such wonderful wisdom. Thank you so much, Rochelle, for sharing everything that you have offered today. How can people connect with you?
I'm online at rightnowcoach.com. That's WRITE nowcoach.com. And you can find me on Twitter and Facebook. And feel free to connect with me. And I've got lots of resources at my website and online to help you journal and write your books.
Oh, I love all of that. And all of your links and your contact information is also available on the Inspired Life Summit website, along with the free gift that you are offering. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So this is Krysti Turznik reminding you to live every day like it's a day at the beach. Take care.